What's up guys? I'm interrupting this portion of the video to thank our sponsors, and that's Simply Carbon Fiber. They were able to send me this phone case because this is what I had before, and as you can see, it's seen some better days. What I like about this, it looks really good, it's high quality, and it fits very snug. So I want to thank them for sponsoring this video, and if you guys want to pick up anything from their website, you can use this discount code right over here, and I'll leave more information in the description. Now let's jump back into the present time of the video and let's see what I'm getting myself into. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to be heading over to a BMW dealership because I'm almost at my break-in service. I got maybe another 30 miles left. But we're going to be meeting up with Ben. He's a BMW tech. And also, we got Tauzins here.
What's up?
So we're going to be tackling the question of what happens if you don't obey by the break-in service? What happens if you go over the mileage? All those questions that you guys asked, and also a question for the break-in service. We're going to tackle that today. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of content today. And I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. All right, so as you can see, we're basically at 30 miles left until the break-in service. So I got it down to as much as I needed to get it done properly. Obviously you don't want to go over, and also you don't want to go too early. So we're at 30 miles left, and I think that's one of the perfect timings. So we're here with Ben, and that's Shame M3. Why you call it Shame M3? What is that about?
Well, there's a long story behind it, but really quickly, me and my YouTube partner Jamal, we got into this saying during COVID, and it just became more or less a joke. Yeah. And we would always just say, shame. And that's kind of where Shrug Media comes from, because we would just kind of shrug it off. So we'd be like, shame. You know, and then it just kind of became a joke, and I kind of just ran with it. And I just wanted it originally to be SHA M3. Yeah. But unfortunately that was taken. So that's when I added the S55 to it as well. So it's Shame M3 S55.
And then today, what we're going to be doing today is probably the most important question when you own a brand new M car, and that's the break-in service, right? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to get all those questions answered for you guys because it's very important, right?
Very important.
There's a lot of things if you don't do, or if you overdo, then that's going to be on you guys, and it's going to be coming out of their pocket, right?
Exactly. At the end of the day, the break-in service and or running-in service is very important for these cars specifically, and we'll get more into that as the video progresses. But Ken, the car looks great, and I'm happy you're here, bro.
So we're here at Fields BMW, and today we're going to be discussing the break-in process, right? And we have special guest, the GOAT, Ben. And I got to say thank you so much, because this is after hours, and we're still working on cars. I'm sure he's been working on cars all day. But this is really important for the community and also for myself, because there's a lot of things that I don't know about that he has the knowledge for. So Ben, what are we going to do today?
So today we're going to be doing Ken's run-in service on his brand new G80 M3. As you guys already know, he's right there near that service range.
30 miles left.
30 miles left. So that's plenty close enough. I've done some where people come in about 200 miles early, and it's not recommended to come in that early.
Why is that? Why is that?
So with the running in service or the break-in service, the oils that are in the vehicle, they are not your regular conventional motor oil. Okay. Yeah. So. And I can dig into that a little bit deeper as we start the process.
As you're working on the car and stuff, because I'm going to capture all the cinematics for you guys, and also the main importance of what's going on today, because we're all here to learn, and I'm here to learn. I'm here to educate you guys, because we have the GOAT.
Street name.
Yeah, GOAT.
So yeah, like I was saying, this is probably the best motorsport motor BMW's ever made. Just because I think they hit a home run with this one when it comes to reliability and how easy it is to make power and it still be reliable.
So what is the biggest defect of the S58 platform? I know the F80 was the crank hub, right, that you guys all know and hear. There's a lot of videos about it. So with the S58, what is the known issue? What is the issue that you guys seen as BMW techs?
As of right now, absolutely nothing.
Let's go.
No, seriously, on a serious note, these cars, these engines have given us absolutely no issues. However, I will say the components that surround the motor have given us a couple of issues here and there. It's not very common.
Okay.
But the engine itself is absolutely solid. And like I was saying, this is probably the most reliable motorsport motor that BMW has made that you can make power and still be reliable.
Yeah.
Because it started with the N54, which I have over there on my stand,
Yeah.
which could make really great power, but it wasn't reliable.
Yeah.
And then you had Heartbreaker. And then you had the M55, which was very reliable, but wasn't that great on the power end side of things. It was more conservative. And then you get into, the B engines, where you have the B58, which could make pretty decent power depending on what you do.
Decent reliability, right?
Decent reliability and pretty decent power depending on what you do and what you mod. And then came this thing, which was the S58, which took inspiration.
Supercar killer right now.
Yeah, literally
It's
supercar killer.
Supercar killer because when you stage 2 it, you're pushing basically supercar power, right? You're almost like 700 horsepower to the crank.
Exactly.
What I can say too, I've read something on the forums where people hear, I guess during startup, this car sounds a little rough in the beginning, right?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
So originally, like I said, this motor takes inspiration from the B58, being that it is technically a B engine, but it is an S-Class engine because it's in an M car. So originally, the high-pressure fuel pumps were located on this side of the vehicle on the bottom.
Okay.
So being that this engine took inspiration from the B engine, the high-pressure fuel pumps now sit right up here underneath this cover.
Yeah.
And because the new M cars weigh so much, BMW had to save weight by taking a lot of the sound deadening and dampening in the engine bay.
Yeah.
So when you start this car up, you're going to hear a lot of loud ticking.
Click, click, click,
Clicking, and that's because both of your high-pressure fuel pumps sit right here.
So don't freak out, guys. I know I read on the forums, like, hey, what's this clicking noise?
Yeah.
People will put, like, sound clips of it online, and I've heard it too, and I've always knew that this car was normal, there wasn't any issues with it, but I wanted to give you guys the answer from a tech itself.
Yeah.
So I'll let you do your magic. I know that we'll answer a lot of questions that you guys had on my Instagram, and we'll flow through those answers and get you guys the quality answers from the future Master Tech. GOAT.
Hopefully.
So I want to thank Ben for actually buying this specifically for today's shoot. He wanted to make sure that all his tools matched my car today. As you can see, his box. He bought this on the street the other day, black and red. It matches the car. Thank you, Ben, for so much.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
brother.
It's going to be jokes all day with some education. So one of the biggest questions is, Ben, does the car make more power when you do the braking service after the fact? Because I know that there's been discussions on the forums and also through chats, like, hey, after the car gets broken in, it's a placebo because now you're able to go to 6,500 RPMs, 7,000 RPMs. What is the truth on that? Is it a placebo or is it true?
So there is truth to it.
Okay.
There is truth to it, guys. There is truth to it. So when these cars come in brand new, every single BMW, whether it be an M or a regular car, obviously they have a PDI mode or a transport mode. So the car is pretty much dead in that mode. Then depending on whether you have an M or not, the car will get PDI'd. Once it's taken out of that transport mode, if it's not an M, you have full power. You can go, however crazy you want.
Balls to the walls.
Balls to the wall. You have no break-in service. However, for an M, even when you take it out of transport mode for the initial PDI, you still have what is called the running in mode, which is not allowing the car to reach its full potential, whether that be by the RPM band or the actual horsepower that the car has. And we'll get into that a little bit later because BMW kept that in mind when it came to the type of oil that's in the vehicle for the actual run-in service or break-in service.
And you were mentioning the oil. We're about to smell it in a little bit because he says it smells a lot different than regular oil, conventional oil, and it's disgusting, right?
Yeah, I've gotten pretty used to it, so I really don't smell it that much anymore. This is probably my 101st run-in service that I've done on M cars in general, whether it be an M3 or so on and so forth. So I'm pretty used to the smell. The diff You can never get used to the differential smell.
Yeah.
You'll smell that.
So is it the same oil for the F80s and stuff, the brake and service oil?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
They do change the
Viscosity?
and things of that nature depending on the type of motor that it is.
Okay.
You know, every motor is different in its own way, so BMW takes that into mind as well. So they will use different types of running in oil for that specific engine.
It all smells like shit.
It all smells like shit, yeah.
But again, hopefully that answers one of the biggest questions. I know I had people chime in about that, and some people say it's fake and false, but you can hear from a BMW tech, and he's telling you guys, based on those parameters, this is what happens when you're in that PDI mode, right? Or
Correct,
braking
yeah,
mode.
that break-in service
Yeah,
mode.
so we're going to answer a lot more questions, so stay tuned. Make sure you guys like this video and also subscribe to his channel, and also turn around the camera, the cameraman holding the camera.
Turn it around. There it
Tauzins,
is, there it
subscribe
is.
to his channel too. They've been such a great help, and to be able to film this at a BMW dealership, I appreciate it.
All the bullets that we're dodging, hide the bones in the garden, never beg for a pardon. Cash in before the house rules, never break on the ground rules. Got too high off our own fumes. We keep playing with fire, knowing it's a dangerous game. Yeah, we keep playing with fire. They can smell it from a mile away. Got some black.
Just so people know, right, your experience with the G8X platform.
Yep.
How many have you done? And pretty much all basically almost the same, right?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So for M3 specifically, I've probably done about 25, maybe 30.
Okay.
Just because their price range kind of falls below, you know, your X5M competition, your X6M, your M5 competition, things of that nature. So they're kind of more frequently bought. The running in service, yes, is typically the same, but components to do it are located in different areas, right? So on the V8s, the filter and the oil are both at the bottom. On this car, being that it's a S-Class motor, but it takes, you know, inspiration from the B engine. The filter is in the back of the engine, where all the timing and gearing and things like that are now, because BMW moved it all to the rear. So just in that general aspect, but you're essentially doing the same thing, which is what we're doing right now. We're draining out the running in oil, and we'll also be draining out the differential oil. So they all get the same sort of treatment. It's just the process of doing them kind of varies depending on where the components are.
How many G8Xs have you done?
G8Xs in general,
Yeah.
M4 and M3,
Yeah.
probably roughly around 40, maybe 42. This probably makes 42, yeah.
G8Xs?
Yeah.
There's been a lot in Orlando, I guess.
Yeah, they come in like hotcakes, man. We got a couple outside right now.
So just so you know that he has experience, he's done this a lot of times already. So a lot of stuff we're giving you facts because I know you guys are kind of worried about it. And also, there's one thing that I wanted to talk about. What happens when you don't do the braking service properly? As in, like, you go over the mileage.
Okay.
Let's just say if you're over 500 miles, what happens?
So the best way I can put this is the oil that's in the motor, again, it's not a conventional oil. It's a premium sort of mineral oil, right? It's very thin. Every manufacturer is
definitely see
different.
that.
You can, you can definitely see that.
Right through it. It's not like conventional dark oil.
It's not. So, you know, every manufacturer's oil that they choose to use is different. BMW chooses to use a very thin oil. And again, it's more or less like a mineral oil. It has cleaning additives in it in order to seat and bed in all the piston rings and seals, and also to properly lubricate, you know, the lobes for the camshafts, for the bearings and things of that nature. And its main job, this oil's that's in this car that we just drained out of it, its main job is to, yes, one, clean and seat things, but it's also meant to pick up as much metal as possible while the vehicle is braking in.
What metal are you talking about? Metal shavings inside the engine bay?
Correct. So metal shavings inside the engine bay, if there were to be any, as everything obviously is brand new, it's been machined. So that oil is specific, is to grab as much of that as it can as you drain it, and then obviously it comes out.
Have you seen oil with metal shavings come out?
No, I have not.
Okay, so
nobody's gone to
BMW's been doing a good job then.
Yeah, nobody's gone to the drastic measures of 500 plus miles. At that point, to answer your question, Ken, you would be causing significant damage to your engine. Again, this is very thin oil. It only has one purpose, which is to essentially clean and seat and properly lubricate the internals of the engine. And once you hit that mileage, that's it. If you go 500 miles over, now you're running into issues of things starting to wear prematurely because the oil that's in there is too thin and things are starting to bind together, rub together, and it could be very bad for not only you, the customer, but for your motor itself. So.
For the customer, what happens to their, I guess, ownership? Do you get flagged in the system?
Correct. So BMW has a little grace period. You know, if you can't make it to the dealership right at 1,200 miles because of work or, you know, family emergency or whatever the case may be.
Life happens, you know?
Life does happen. They usually will forget about 150 miles over. After that, then it comes into play of the technician having to inform his higher ups, hey, this vehicle has, you know, 1,400 miles or, you know, 1,500 miles, you know, he's gone this much over. And then it becomes a case with BMW in Germany of them essentially voiding your warranty because they can no longer guarantee that the engine will run properly because you, the customer, didn't follow the actual break-in procedure.
You done messed up then, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then what happens if you go too early? I'm pretty sure if you go too early, your service advisor will tell you, hey, you're way too early, I don't recommend that. What happens if you do it too early?
So, like you said, you know, the service advisor, if you come in at 800 miles, we're probably going to turn you away. Unless you have like a super really good excuse and then you have a discussion with somebody else about that. But, you know, I've done some as early as 200 miles. That's okay. Again,
200 miles?
Excuse me, no, 200 miles before the break-in service.
Okay.
So about 1,000.
Oh, so the car's basically brand new.
Yeah, I think the earliest one I ever did was about 850 miles.
Okay.
I guess he had a pretty good excuse because they told me to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's okay to come in a little bit early, you know, maybe 100 miles or so, because you want that to be in there for as close to the 1,200 miles as possible, just to make sure that it does its job the way it was meant to do its job.
And then I got it close as possible, 30 miles.
Yeah.
And we're good, we're solid.
It's good, it's solid, definitely.
So Ben, while you're working on the rear differential, all right, this is something that's really important. You were mentioning that this color of the oil is gonna be milky gray.
Yeah, it's gonna be a milky gray. And again, just to go over, you know, pretty much what we already covered, the oil that's in this, again, essentially is doing the same thing that it's doing in the engine. It's just cleaning and preparing the gearing and the differential for what it's about to undergo. And you know, and this will be the only time it ever looks like this. Every time after this, depending on, you know, if you drive your car like a madman or you track it and you get the differential fluid extra hot, it's going to come out green, which is the color of the diff fluid that we're going to be putting in.
And this is the one of two oils that you're changing on the car, right? The oil itself, the engine oil, and also the rear diff oil. That's the only fluids you guys are changing.
Correct.
Because people always say it's just basic oil change, but no, it's not more than that. It actually is not only that, there's more to that because the oil is definitely different, and then you have to program it after, right?
Correct, yeah. So we will be hooking up the vehicle to ISTA, and we will be deactivating the running in portion of it on your dashboard. And we can go into that a little bit more once we actually get the car back down on the ground and get her hooked up. So,
because I can tell you this, he mentioned something earlier. I was like, wait, Ben, pause. We need to get that on camera because you guys need to know.
Right.
All right, so number one, it smells horrendous.
Yeah, it does. So, like I said, it smells horrendous. But while we were talking, like we were talking about earlier with the engine oil, how that the oil's job is to essentially clean the engine from all the metal contaminants that it's, you know, absorbing while it's running. The differential fluid does the same exact thing. So I actually got some on my hand, and as you guys can see right here, you can actually see the metal shavings that came off of the gearing components and things of that nature inside the differential as it was, you know, bedding itself in and getting ready for the new fluid. So that's exactly what it's supposed to do, and it did its job.
Yeah, so these things that you guys don't know unless you guys work on BMWs or work for BMW. All right, so Ben, one of the questions that people asked, and also one of my questions was, when you first buy this brand new BMW, right, your service tech and your BMW Genius, and also when I picked it up at the Performance Center, they told me, hey, don't go past 5,000 RPMs.
All right.
And also, don't go past 106 miles per hour.
Right.
Why is that?
So, again, you know, just to retouch that, the oil that's inside the motor is very thin. Again, BMW chose that for whatever reason, but it's thin to do its job, which is to clean. So when you're revving the engine past that 5,000 RPM band that BMW set, essentially you're making the internal components move so fast, and being that the oil, the running in oil that's in the car is so thin, they're moving so fast that the oil doesn't have enough time to properly lubricate and or make it in between all of the bearings and things of that nature. So now you're causing premature wear. So as you're causing that premature wear, things are going to obviously start to fail, components and things like that, inside the motor. So that's why they tell you not to go over 5,000 RPMs, and then also they don't want you to go over 106 miles per hour because you just don't want it to get to a certain temperature where it gets too thin, and then you start to cause damage to your engine itself.
And you were talking about Homeboy, right? So let's call this guy Homeboy, right?
Call this guy Homeboy.
So Homeboy, what did Homeboy do?
So we had a guy.
His name's Homeboy.
His name's Homeboy, and he bought a brand new Brooklyn Gray with orange interior, carbon fiber buckets, G82 M4. And he bought the car from us on a Monday, and Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., he was back in the dealership. So within about 10 hours of ownership, he bent a rod in his S58 motor, which became a very big issue, where actually big BMW got involved. And it was a whole bunch of who did what and how this happened. And just to cut the story short, he got pretty lucky. He fell within a certain mileage of it happening for BMW to pretty much look away and forgive him for what he did, because we had all the information. We looked at his black box, we saw what he was doing, we saw that he was over revving his engine, we saw that how fast he was going, within that window of time that he had the car for 10 hours, because he wasn't a believer that the run-in service is an actual thing. And he found out within a 10-hour time span that it actually is a real thing. And he was without a car for, I want to say, about 3 or 4 months before they were able to ship a brand new crate S58 motor to our dealership where we could install it for him. So
he waited 4 months.
Yeah, he had to wait about 4 months. At the time, all these cars are made to order. They're not mass produced like every other BMW is.
It's been delayed, getting these cars, and Homeboy learned that day.
Yes, he very much did, because they essentially had to make a motor for him that wasn't going into a car already. So he had to wait about 4 months until it came in.
And this tells you guys, seriously, take it serious, because these braking services are very important for you as a owner, and also just to have no issues later on in the ownership of owning an M3 or whatever M car you have, because again, these motors are very special compared to a non-M car.
Correct.
And he's explained it thoroughly today. I've learned a lot. So I can't wait to after this goes off, because I actually get to push the car later.
Oh yeah.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.